Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong.
Hello everybody. I was originally going to do a second video which would be about how the Bible is a really shitty moral guide, and then my next one was going to be about how I couldn't see how anyone could find the Bible comforting. Now, because of recent events in my life, I'm going to change things up a little bit. Because I realize the reason people find religion, especially modern religion, so enticing is that it puts you in a constant, convenient frame of mind. No matter what shit happens to you, it always looks like it's part of some kind of plan or something. Of course, you know, when you're looking at it in hindsight, everything seems to fit together, but when you're actually going through it, it doesn't. So I still find the whole idea ludicrous. Anyway, here's the situation. I recently lost my job. Right then, a couple weeks later, my mother was went to the hospital. She was feeling sick. They found out that she had this big mass in her colon, and they found out it was cancerous. It spread to the lymph nodes. Right now, she's in a care center, and then she's going to be moving home, and I'm going to be taking care of her. All right, now, with that, she was really pushing hard to get home because, I mean, you know, who wants to live in a hospital? So maybe pushing herself too hard. Anyway, she had the staples taken out of her stomach today, and she got very sick, very ill. She was ornery and angry all day long, and then when she got sick, she went unconscious, and she was denying she went unconscious, was arguing with everybody, and it was a whole thing, and then they had to put her back, take her out of the, not put her back in the care center, but put her in the hospital for at least one more night. Now, I was talking to my aunt, and she said, the fact that I don't have a job now is part of God's plan so that I can take care of my mother. Now, that amazed me. I had to do everything I could to keep quiet because I am an atheist, but I think it is very wrong for you to basically shit on someone else's source of comfort. If she finds religion comfort in the existence of God, fine. And I think it would have been a real breach of taste for me to argue with her at that point. And then she mentioned something about she hoped she didn't say use this wording, but something about you know, I don't want to offend you or anything. And I said, no, don't worry. Atheism isn't a belief; it's a lack of belief. And then she said, and besides, I've heard you say, "Thank God" before, as if that was proof of my faith. Now, I say a lot of things. I say motherfucker, shit, cocksucker, cunt when I'm angry. I say, wow, that was great, blah, 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 blah. I don't attribute any of those to some sort of belief system, so why should thank God, or God bless you, or any of that other stuff, or God damn it, make a difference? It's a cultural thing. Just like, say, vampires are part of our culture, or zombies are part of our culture. They're not real. Not real at all. They're just part of our culture. It's a cultural thing. I say, God damn it. Or thank God. Now, this started me on a whole train of thought. Now, if God has a plan, and wouldn't it be better for my mother not to have cancer? Or she's had numerous other health problems. She had problems with her spine, where they had to do her spine surgery. She's now, like, she doesn't have a neck anymore. She's just shorter and stuff like that. Why did he prevent that from happening? A few years ago, she was in a car accident, shattered her leg, kept her homebound basically for the rest of her life. Didn't prevent that from happening. Let's see. What else? Oh yeah, a heart valve, because my mother had rheumatic fever when she was a kid, and she needed to have her heart valve replaced. And her surgery was scheduled for September 11th. And that September 11th. So her surgery had to be postponed. So a kind and loving God could have intervened at any time during all of that. For that matter, any of those times she was in the hospital and she had to be home, and then my aunt had to take care of her, why didn't God intervene then and unemploy me? And also there's the fact that if I'm out of a job, and that's part of God's divine plan, that helps my aunt, but it doesn't really help me because I don't have a source of income anymore. So how is that something that a kind and loving God would do? Now, just for rational reasons, I don't see how there could be a God. And I definitely don't see how there could be a kind and loving God. But even if there is a God, and there's a kind and loving God, I'm not sour graping it. I'm not blaming him for my misfortunes. I'm just saying that if on the very slim chance there's a God, and the much slimmer chance that he's kind and loving, his sense of helpfulness is a little bit deranged. There's no rationality to it. I know that a Christian would say, or any religious person would say, oh, that's the mystery of God's plan and things like that. But just looking at it logically, all of this bullshit could have been prevented by just giving my mother good health. You know? Unless there's some reason he has for killing her off early. I don't know. Or if there's a reason that now I'm unemployed, don't have a source of income, so that I can relieve all the stress off my aunt. Maybe there's some kind of divine reason for that. It seems to me that my aunt is in that convenient frame of mind. It's taking some of the pressure off of her. It's not helping me. It's not helping my mother. It's just helping her. Now, that makes me think of when there's some kind of horrible disaster, right? Say people were killed. I'll be generous. Let's say most of the people survived. Say 10% died, 20% got injured, and the rest survived without a scratch. The ones that survived without a scratch, if they're religious, will say, oh, they were praying, and, they believed in God, and they were devout, and they were praying, and God saved them. Didn't give a shit about the other people who were praying in the disaster. Just those people. Again, the mystery of the plan. Now, as for the dead people, if their relatives were religious, they would say, oh, God loved them so much, he wanted them in heaven, so he killed them. Now, this divine sense of mercy could have been like a horrible fire where they burned to death, or a building fell on top of them, or a plane crashed. Now, for myself, I don't know what it is. If, like, me and people like me are just more rational and they can't put themselves in that convenient frame of mind, I don't know. I honestly just don't have an answer. But I'm not one of those people. I have a bullshit detector. I can't imagine anyone thinking that some kind of tragedy would be part of a divine plan. That's just irrational. To see everything in the universe for your convenience and then ignoring the rest. Dennis Miller, before he turned into a wacko conservative, he said something like, about religion, I don't have that much cosmic whiteout. And I agree with that. I don't understand how anyone could just ignore all of this bullshit and think that we have a kind and loving God. And I'll grant you, I think like Richard Dawkins, 99% sure there's no God, but at least that 1%. there is a possibility, no matter how slim and remote, because I see a lot of disorder in the universe. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, not even both sides of our bodies match. There's nothing even in the universe at all. If there is a God, he definitely does not use straight lines. Religious people always talk about how our eyes are a sign of the perfection of God. But you know, there are blind people. There are people with color, where they're colorblind. In fact, there's no consistency at all in their vision. From what I've read, each of us sees colors in a different way. In other words, even though we might identify one color, the same color as red, your red and my red are slightly off or slightly different. All right, and then again, kids who are born blind or born with any other number of horrible defects. Now, how could that possibly be part of a divine plan? It seems that if there is a God, he's brutal and arbitrary in the way that he enacts his plans. So if I'm 99% sure that there is no God, I'm 99.9999999 to the billionth nine that if there is a God, he doesn't love us, or he isn't a kind and loving God. And I do understand why people would find comfort in that, but my mind just engages. Boom! If I start thinking in that, engaging in any kind of magical thinking, it's like automatically I start questioning it and start thinking and start saying, well, maybe the universe wasn't arranged for my convenience. Maybe there isn't someone out there looking out for me. Or if it seems like that on the surface, if I look a little bit deeper, I'll realize that's not the case. Sure, I'm home to take care of my mother, but then again, it's going to disrupt my life tremendously because I'm trying to get something going on the internet, so I have to pay for internet access to my mother's house somehow. I have to move all my stuff out of all the stuff that I need to her house. I'm going to be away from my wife. I'm going to be away from my cats. It's going to disrupt my life incredibly, and that's God's plan. My income has been killed by not having a job now. I have a couple of things I'm working on, but still, things are tough and very hard, and that's part of God's plan. I love my mom. She has cancer now. Now, she is like, I think 72. Yeah, I think 72. But it's not like she's, dying in her sleep or anything like that. She's been through a lot of shit in the last 10 years. A kind and loving God? God's divine plan? Now, I could buy a series of random occurrences. I can buy, say, a scientific order to the universe and our material world because it works and it functions, but there isn't any kind of intelligence behind it. But to think that there is a divine plan is, I think, more of that logic by hindsight. Things make sense only when they're finished. So, to sum up, I have gotten some insight into why religious people think the way they do, and I find it disturbing, actually. I understand why it would be comforting, but to me, sitting around and praying is no substitute for just kind of getting off your ass. So that's what I'll be doing. So for future videos, you'll notice my background changing because I will be living in my mother's house taking care of her. I'll miss my wife very much. I'll miss my cats very much. I'll miss my shitty house very much. And all of that. But I'm doing it because it's something that needs to be done. Somebody needs to take care of my mother, and I want to take the weight off of my aunt. But no way can I possibly bullshit and trick myself into thinking that this is all because of a kind and loving God. And usually I don't get into personal stuff, so I thank you for your indulgence, and I hope everyone's having a great day. Thank you.